Hey everybody, Marcus here with Maple House Sessions and Next Level Recording, and thank you so much for checking out this video. Now today I'm going to be going over a mix deconstruction for the song West by Campbell Station. Now due to COVID-19, artists have been unable to perform anywhere in the country, and because of that, my co-founder Evan and I, we rounded up our entire team and headed to Nashville, Tennessee, where we recorded and filmed 12 different artists. Now in order for us to do that, we needed the proper equipment, so Waves so graciously sponsored us by sending us an LV1 system to make sure all the recordings were as great as possible, the new Fit controller for us to review and to use, and all the plugins that you could possibly ever imagine so we can make these mixes as great as possible. Now I'm going to be going over each element of the mix and show you exactly what I did to make it sound amazing. And if you stay to the end of the video, you'll be able to watch the entire performance. So let's get started. Okay, so I have the session open and we are ready to go. Now, before I get started, just want to let you know this is going to be a little bit of a different mix than if I was to release this on Spotify or Apple Music. And what I mean by that is it's a live performance to a video, so it has to match the visuals of the video. So I can't do huge, lush, long reverbs or big delay throws because they're in a living room, and that's really not going to make any sense. So just keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to play a sample of this, and then I'll dive into what I'm doing on each element of the song. And then if you stick around, you'll be able to watch this entire performance video at the end of this deconstruction. So here we go.
Her cheeks are tear-stained, but they're dry. She's as strong as a whiskey rye. Uses sunset as her guide. She's headed out west tonight.
Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and get started with this acoustic guitar that is in red over here. Now, I'm not going to show you exactly what each move sounds like that I'm doing, but at the end, I'll give you a before and after of the entire processing as a whole. So the acoustic guitar, starting off with the Waves F6 RTA Dynamic EQ, and this thing is awesome. Now, I'm not doing too much. I'm just notching out some annoying resonant frequencies and then high pass and low pass filtering. Don't want to go too high on the high pass filter. Don't want to thin this guitar too much because it's the only instrument that's taking up space in the mix. And then the low pass filter just taking off a little bit of the top end because it's kind of pokey and transient, and I want to smooth that out a little bit. Now from here, I'm going into a C6 multiband compressor, and this thing is awesome. Really kind of using it as an EQ. I am using it to clean up the low mids for clarity, bringing down some of those transients again, and then using the floating band to take out some more annoying resonant frequencies that are fighting with the vocals. Now from here, I'm going into the Sheps 73. This is modeled after a Neve 1073, and it's amazing. Now this guitar was pretty thin sounding, so I wanted to give it some more body, so I'm boosting 220 by almost 12 dB, and then I'm bringing back some of that shine with the 12K shelf. Now that might sound counterintuitive, but the Neves are really smooth in the top end, so it's not going to bring back any harshness. Now you might be saying, oh my gosh, you're boosting so much of the low mids. That's totally fine. Everybody on YouTube is telling you not to boost more than 2 dB or not to compress more than 2 or 3 dB. Don't listen to them because all the pros are doing this. If it takes 15 dB of a certain frequency to get you the sound that you're looking for, then it takes 15 dB. Trust your ears and not your eyes and what they're seeing on the plugin. Now, the last thing I'm doing processing-wise on this guitar is going to a CLA3A. Now, if you're not familiar with an LA3A, it's in between an LA2A and an 1176. It's not as slow as a 2A, but not as quick as a 76. Now here, I'm doing 7 to 10 dB of gain reduction. Really want to hold this guitar down in place so it's not overly dynamic or poking out with any high-end transients like that, and then I'm matching the output gain. And what I mean by that is when I bypass this plugin and then re-enable it, I'm not just hearing a volume boost and getting a false reading of louder is better. I really want to hear what the compression is doing, so I personally like to do it's the same level if I bypass it or re-enable it. Now, that's personal preference. It's okay if you want to get a little bit of a boost, but if I want to turn up this guitar, I'm going to use the fader because that's what faders are for, turning things up and down. Now, this guitar is being sent to a room reverb. Now, on the room reverb channel, I have an EQ, again, the F6 RTA. I am taking out some of the lows to clean up some mud. I am taking out some mud frequencies in the low mids around 261, and then taming the high end to just kind of round it off a little bit. I don't really want it to poke out or be noticeable. I really want it to be more of a feeling of a reverb and space around the guitar. Now, I am EQing before the reverb, and that's very important. I'm using the R verb here, and this thing is so dope. I simply just went to the reverb type room and then changed the time to 0.93, so less than a second. And the reason I did that is because I don't want this reverb to be super long. One, because they're in a living room. Two, because it just needs to have some space around it. Doesn't need to be this big lush reverb. And I just wanted simplicity. Didn't do anything with the pre-delay or the diffusion or any of the early reflections. Wanted it to be super simple. Just kind of bringing this up so it just gives a sense of space. So let me go ahead and play you a before and after of the guitar, and you'll hear exactly what that processing did. It's a pretty huge difference. The body of the guitar comes out. Even when I brought that reverb back in, you hear this sense of space rather than it just being kind of up front and there and boring. So that's all I did with the acoustic guitar. So let's move on to the vocals. Okay, so I have two vocalists in this video. I have the girl on the left and the girl on the right. Now, the girl on the left is what we're going to be working on now, and she is here in orange. Now, the first thing you have to notice is where she is in relation to the microphone. She's sitting a lot further back than the girl on the right, and she belts and she moves even further away from the microphone when the girl on the right in the video comes really close to the mic and she's really intimate with it. Now, I have to take that into consideration in the moves that I'm going to make so she doesn't sound like she's far from the mic. So the first thing I do is I just clean up a little bit of the low end. Again, with the F6 RTA dynamic EQ, this thing's awesome. I am high pass filtering up to 123, getting rid of some mud. It also gets rid of some of the body of the guitar that's bleeding into the microphone. Now from here, I love the 1073 on vocals. It is amazing. Again, using the Shep 73, I'm boosting 220 by almost 12 dB again because she's far away from the mic. I need to beef up her voice a little bit so she sounds like she's right up on it. I am bringing in a little bit of 360, just barely, and then bringing in some brightness with the 12K shelf to give her some presence so she sounds like an actual person. Now, the last thing I'm doing on this is LA2A, using the CLA2A. Similar to what I'm doing with the guitar, I'm doing about 7 to 5 dB of gain reduction and then matching the output level so she is not just giving a false reading of louder is better. Now, the volume increase that you're really hearing when I bypass this is the EQ. Now, these EQ moves are pretty big. So an EQ is just simply a smart volume knob, if that makes any sense. So you're turning up certain frequencies, and that is where you're going to get your level increase. So let me give you a before and after of what she's sounding like.
Left her heart in Tennessee, in that old 66th Street, a place she never thought she'd leave, wearing a sweater and her heart on his sleeve.
I mean, that's a pretty big difference. She sounds super far from the mic, almost like it's a room mic. And then when I make these moves, she comes forward, she's right there, and she fits perfectly into the mix. Next up is the girl on the right. Now, doing similar stuff, but not exactly the same. So one, I'm starting off with the 1073. I'm using the EQ high pass filter in the 1073 this time, so going up to 80. Don't want to go too far because 160 is pushing it. Again, boosting 220, not too much in her voice because she was right up on the microphone getting some proximity effect, but I am bringing some shine in with the 12K shelf. Now from here, I am going with the C6 multiband compressor, and I'm only doing one thing, just taking some harshness out of her voice with this floating EQ. Now from here, going to a CLA 76. This is an 1176, and I am set up with a 12-to-1 ratio, the fastest attack and the fastest release, and I'm only just getting the peaks of her voice. It's just doing like 3 to 5 dB real quick, grabbing anything that goes above that threshold, and it's just turning those down so it's easier for the next CLA 2A to do its job. Now, similarly, I'm doing about 7 to 5 dB of gain reduction and then matching the output to smooth out the vocal. Now, an 1176 going into an LA 2A is the magic sauce. It's such a famous combination from the beginning of time, basically, and I recommend trying it out. Now, the last thing I'm doing on her vocal is using this sibilance plugin. This is legit my favorite sibilance control plugin, if you will, de-esser, and super simple to use. This is a female vocal, so I went to the female vocal preset, and then I just made some adjustments with the threshold and the range to get it to where I want it to sit in the mix. Now, every vocal is different, so you'll have to mess around with it a little bit, but this is super transparent. It's super easy to use, and I totally recommend it. So let me go ahead and show you what she's sounding like before and after.
Her cheeks are tear-stained, but they're dry. She's as strong as a whiskey rye. Uses the sunset as her guide. She's headed out west tonight.
Again, a super big difference. She's all of a sudden there. She's not muddy. She has clarity and excitement in her voice. And now they're both really kind of sitting together in a great way. So with the vocals, I like to do some certain things. So even though this says plate reverb, I'm sending them to a room reverb, actually 2 room reverbs. I just didn't change my send name. So the first thing I'm doing, I'm sending both of these vocalists to a room reverb pre-fader. I'm cleaning up the reverb before the vocal hits the reverb with the Abbey Road trick. High pass up to 600, low pass down to 10,000. And then again, using the Reverb. I love this plugin. It's really awesome. I went to the room. I set this to 0.4 seconds with a 27.8 pre-delay. I want this to be more of a sense of space around the vocal, not so much of a reverb tail, but more of they're in a room, so it sounds like a room. The pre-delay just gives it space so they're not fighting with the reverb, and that's the only thing I did on this room verb. Now from there, I'm sending both of these to another room, again cleaning up with the F6 RTA, this time up to 223 on the high pass filter and down to 2,332 on the low pass filter, just to clean up the low end. And I don't want this reverb to be super noticeable, so I am taking out that high end, because the further something is away, the less high end it is. So I kind of want this reverb to be tucked back and not overly in your face or present in the mix. Now again, I'm using the Reverb plugin. I'm using the room preset again, except this time I have a 1.49 second time decay and then a 10 millisecond pre-delay. And what this is doing is giving me some length in the reverb. Now this isn't a super long reverb, but it's also not super short, so it gives it some length. And then I'm basically mixing those two reverbs in together. So I'm giving a little bit of space with that short room first, and then I'm bringing in some length with the longer reverb on the other end. So it gives more of a space, but you can tell the room's not tiny, so it needs a little bit of length. And then the next thing I'm doing is kind of a secret weapon that I like to use, so you are totally welcome for that. I'm sending both of the vocals to a quarter note delay and an eighth note delay. However, the quarter note delay is panned right and the eighth note delay is panned left. Now, again, using the F6 RTA because it's the jam. It's awesome at cleaning up things. High pass filtering up to 200, taking some mud out, and then low pass filtering up to almost 7,000. And then I'm using the H delay. This is pretty much the only delay I ever use because it's super simple to use and it is awesome. So what I'm doing here is I have a quarter note set up with a super low feedback, which means it's not going to repeat that many times. It's just going to repeat once, maybe twice. And then I am flipping the polarity of the left side, so it's really going into the right speaker. And this does something pretty unique that it just gives it a little bit more candy flavoring, if you will. And then the last thing I'm doing is low pass filtering even more to 350 to 351, that is. And I just want this tucked back. Again, they're in a living room. I don't want you to really even hear these delays, but I want you to feel the space that they're creating. And I'm doing the same exact thing with the eighth note delay. I'm doing the same EQ moves and then doing the same thing with the eighth note, except I'm not reversing the polarity on the left or right. I'm just keeping it straight up. And low pass filtering down to almost 360. I can't really even see that. It might be 400, but yeah. So let me go ahead and show you exactly what that sounds like. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mute them as a whole. So I'm gonna mute this room reverb from the acoustic guitar, and I'm gonna mute the effects and then bring them all back in so you can hear the difference.
Her cheeks are tear-stained, but they're dry. She's as strong as a whiskey rye. Uses the sunset as her guide. She's headed out west tonight.
Now let me show you what these delays are doing. So again, one of them is in the right speaker, and one of them is in the left speaker. So I'm just going to exaggerate this move.
Her cheeks are tear-stained, but they're dry. She's as strong as a whiskey rye. Use it.
It gives it kind of an eerie flavor. This song kind of has some eerie harmony, so I was like, man, that would fit perfectly with this. But again, you just want to feel them more than you do hear them. So that is everything that I did with the elements in this mix, and let's move on to my 2-mix processing. So I am running everything into the SSL bus comp from Waves. I have a 0.10 attack, 4:1 ratio, auto release, doing maybe 2 to 3 dB of gain reduction and 1 dB of makeup gain. I'm going into a Pultec EQ. This is the Puig Tech. Again, this is awesome. I am boosting some 100 hertz just to give the song more body, but then I'm also attenuating it, so they work together in a way. So if you're boosting and you think of a shelf, it is dipping in the front of that shelf down with the attenuation. And then I'm brightening everything at 12K up to 7 dB, and then again attenuating it as well to smooth out any harshness that it would take. And then from here, I did a Abbey Roads chamber reverb. Now, you might be saying, oh my gosh, why are you putting a reverb on your master fader? So I like to do this because it gives everything the sense of being in the same room. So I am basically using this as an overall reverb, but it's barely on. It's only at 10%. It's super low in the mix. It's not going to muddy anything up. It's going to make everything sound cohesive, like they're in the same room, and it really sounds great. Now from here, going into the F6 RTA again, just taking out some mud around 324 and 189, and that is it. And then I am going into a L1 Ultra Maximizer. This thing is amazing. It's my go-to limiter. Out ceiling set to -0.1, and then bringing the threshold down to -1. And I'm also using this loudness meter plugin. This is what I use on every mix. So YouTube is at -14 LUFS. So when I'm mixing this song, I want this to be hitting like -10, -12 long term, -10, -11, anywhere in that range, because I would rather my mix be turned down than turned up to 14. I don't want it to be lower than their standard, but I want it to be higher so they can take it down. Now, let me play all of this back for you, and I'm going to bypass and re-enable my processing on my 2-mix.
Her cheeks are tear-stained, but they're dry. She's as strong as whiskey rye. Uses sunset as her guide. She's headed out west tonight.
Huge difference. Brings clarity. It just makes it sound awesome. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a before and after of the entire thing as a whole so you can hear the difference there as well.
Her cheeks are tear-stained, but they're dry. She's as strong as whiskey rye. Uses sunset as her guide. She's headed out west tonight.
Unbelievable difference. Just super dull and boring at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it sounds like a huge, awesome song. Awesome. Well, again, that is it. That is all I did with this song, West, again by Campbell Station. Follow them on their social media platforms. They are amazing and super talented. You can also check us out at Maple House Sessions YouTube channel and also on Instagram. And if you stick around, we'll show you this live performance video in full right about now.
She left her heart in Tennessee, in that old 66 Airstream, a place she never thought she'd leave, wearing his sweater and her heart on its sleeve. Her cheeks are tear-stained, but they're dry. She's as strong as whiskey rye. Uses sunset as her guide. She's headed out west tonight. Well, damn the dawn and damn the sky and damn the man who made her cry. Won't make the same mistakes twice. Tank full of hope and what she'd say in all those hiding places. Takes back her pride in her last name. God save the man who stands in her way. Well, damn the memories, damn the lies, and damn the devil in his eyes. Won't make the same mistakes twice. her saving grace. Well, damn the sparkle in his eye that wasted all her precious time. Won't make the same mistake twice. Won't make the same mistake twice. Won't make the same mistake twice. Won't make the same mistake twice.
Hey guys, Evan Colazzo here with Maple House Sessions. Thank you so much for watching this video. And again, from Maple House Sessions to Waves Audio, thank you, thank you, thank you. We could not have done this without you. You guys made our lives so much easier in Nashville by providing us with some killer equipment, and you've made post-production so much easier by providing us with your plugins. Now, if you like this video, be sure to let us know in the comments below that you want to see more of this. Be sure to check out our channel, Maple House Sessions. And then, guys, don't forget to subscribe. Show some love to Waves Audio for everything that they've done for us. Thank you.
Rolling into West LA, the West will be her saving grace. Well, damn the sparkle